Sam Marshall shares uplifting stories and conversations with people making Johannesburg and the world a better place.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We have conversations with people that are building this brand we call South Africa. It's all about, sharing positive stories and... it's been a really interesting morning. I've gone all over the country speaking to amazing South Africans who are finding innovative ways. If they're not using film to educate kids on how to stop being human trafficked, they are thinking quite interestingly about how we deal with, for example, fetal alcohol syndrome, which is recognized day to day, by the way. Okay, in studio, we've got a very stylish lady. Her name is Nelo Phindile Spies. She's the executive director of the Junior Achievement South Africa. And what these guys have been doing, they've been making waves with innovative programs that equip young people across the country with entrepreneurial, financial, and workplace skills. Now, we're going to explore a little bit about some of the initiatives. We'll also talk about how do we tackle youth unemployment. We know it's stubborn, really. Nelo, good morning. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Marshall. Good morning to your listeners.
Yeah. I haven't been called Marshall, and only when I'm in trouble with my mom does she call me Marshall. But anyway, talk to me about this amazing organization, because I think I've been very fortunate, Nelo, that I've been on your mailing list. So I know the amazing work that you guys do at Junior Achievements. But if there is, for whatever reason, somebody under a rock who's never ever heard of Junior Achievements, tell me a little bit about the work of the organization.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Junior Achievement South Africa is a part of a worldwide network. There are almost 115 junior achievement across the world. And the whole organization was started in the US. It came to South Africa in 1979 through the Wits Business School. And it has grown since then. It gained its independence, and it's now an organization that has its own board. Its three main pillars is offering entrepreneurship education, financial literacy, and work readiness skills for young people. We work right across from primary school to high schools and to out-of-school youth. But we strictly work with unemployed youth out of school and learners in school. We are endorsed by the Department of Education to offer entrepreneurship and financial literacy, as well as work readiness programs in high school.
It's interesting to me because I know the department also works with E-Cubed, right?
Yes.
And I love how, look, it's not often people know this, but the Department of Basic Education has really thought of project-based learning and thought about how do we integrate that into as early as possible so that we can funnel more kids into kind of entrepreneurial thinking, which is a little bit different from being an entrepreneur, but it's the ability to problem solve and all of that.
Absolutely.
Just how do you guys see this idea that, yes, maybe not every child is an entrepreneur, but we can bring entrepreneurial thinking, project-based learning at a school level where you're going to have young people who down the pipeline will contribute in this kind of broader macro sense of problem solving.
Okay, so firstly, we work very closely with E-Cubed.
Oh, with James and the team, yeah.
Yes,
well, he's no longer there.
Wahida. And yes, we work very closely with them.
Muketsi.
Yes, we work very closely. Yes, we work very closely with them. And the difference with our program and what they are doing, they have been rolling out pilots across the country of entrepreneurship.
For the last 3-4 years now.
Yes, they have. Our programs are run after school.
Okay.
And they are on a voluntary basis. Because we are a non-profit, we work on funding from different corporates and different partners. So sometimes we work in schools that our partners have a relationship with. But the core of our work is experiential learning. All our programs are based on hands-on doing. because we believe that that is the best way for a child to learn by doing, and to gain confidence in themselves in knowing that I can actually do this. So we will run programs where children will go out and start and ideate a business, and start the business, do their market research in their communities. We always want...
I love that.
We always want our children to start within their communities. Look at problems within your communities. See how you can solve them and make money whilst you're solving that problem. Because we are trying to create a community that is able to look after itself, that is able to grow itself. And where do you start? With the youth, and making the youth aware that you are the makers of your community.
Yeah.
That's the basis of our work.
I've seen so many interesting programs and projects, and I wonder how you reflect as a leader on this idea that maybe the time has really come to take a sledgehammer to the silo mentality idea, right? Because the communities that some of these young people find themselves in, there's a thriving informal sector there, an informal sector that's employing people. If, for example, yesterday I had the head of African Bank, and they do a lot of work within communities and trying to turn around the informal economy. But over the last couple of months, you've seen things like, for example, the last couple of years, you've seen things like Ikoko, Yoko, and the work that they're doing with communities, Talafani banks, what Spaza Eats, and the work that he's doing to try and kind of register it. Gigi Alcock has written extensively about Casinomics and this informal environment that, if the players understand what is in these communities, the next entrepreneurs, the next business, and I think maybe to a large degree, that's why you're seeing so many of the banks now trying to rally around the informal economy. But I still, and it frustrates me, and I don't know how you think about it, I do believe that we cannot hold young entrepreneurs to the same standard as established business. We need to create funding models for them that if he's entrepreneurial or she's entrepreneurial, that they have access to, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be 100,000 Rand or 200,000 Rand. I wonder how you sometimes think of the players and how we have to kind of work with each other to make sure that if we're going to grow young entrepreneurs, that we also provide them with funding and access and opportunities.
Development cannot be done by one organization. It has to be done by a community. And the community of like-minded people. We have to come we have to come together and look at our strengths and say, I do this best. But I can build a pipeline that feeds into what you do.
So when junior achievements are good at this, finding that talent, you bring in another player that can provide the
mentorship, that can provide funding, that is not so risk averse. And government has to come in as well and create an enabling environment for that kind of business, for small people to thrive. We will always have an informal economy.
Yes.
All countries have.
Yeah.
And it thrives because the government allows it to have that environment. If as a community of development institutions, we allow ourselves to work together to build an ecosystem, we will win. If we work in silos, we will never be able to get out of this youth unemployment that we're sitting at right now.
Which is stubbornly high.
Which is very stubbornly high. And the employment rates are also quite low. If you think that Africa is taking an output of about 12 million young people into the world of work, but there's only 3 million jobs that are available, where is the 9 million going to go? We need to come out with creative ways to work with that 9 million. We can't throw them away. They're here. They're the future of every country. So we need to make way.
Yeah. But it's not a question I want to ask you specifically, because I actually want to ask something. I just want to make a comment on this, that I do think the data for me sometimes doesn't add up, and I think we've also recently seen the numbers being questioned by guys like I'm thinking of the fastest growing bank at the moment. Capitec has recently questioned a lot of that unemployment numbers in townships because a lot of these businesses are kind of run informally without proper checks and balances and stuff like that. So I just want to add that statement. You work across 3 sectors. You work across primary, high school, and school leavers. And fundamentally, how are you tackling that? Because those are very different communities in different stages, right? And I know this for a fact. I can say this because I've actually seen a lot of the work that you guys do. You really, really think about how to problem solve it. But it is 3 vastly different groups in different stages of their lives.
Yes. So in primary school, we introduce financial literacy. We start talking about money with young people. What is money? What do you do with money? And, the first thing, we go to the tuck shop, we buy whatever.
Yeah. It sounds like my children.
So if you are going to save, what are you going to save for? I'm going to save for sneakers. Okay, who's going to give you the money to save? Maybe I need to start thinking about not using all my pocket money and maybe asking my dad. Yeah. But that conversation starts making them to think about, okay, money actually is something that I have to use wisely. I have to think before I spend it. And in the process of speaking to them about money, we also then start saying, so is there a way you can make money for yourself? What ways can you start thinking about to make money for yourselves?
That's the entrepreneurial
yes,
thinking,
that's
right?
the entrepreneurial thinking. We drop the seed. And they start saying, I can actually start washing my neighbor's car. And
I'm entertaining that. From my 12-year-old son is asking me every weekend how he can make money. He's driving me up the wall.
You see?
Yeah.
But that is a seed that has been planted. And that young man is growing up to understand that I can make my own money.
Yeah.
And to get where I want to get and what I want, I can make my own money. That is what we do at primary school. Just plant the seed about money.
Facilitating
and
the conversation, the dialogues.
And yes. We move into high school, and in grade 8 and 9, we run a program we called Be Entrepreneurial. But it also starts by emphasizing financial literacy. You need to know what money is. You need to know how to save, to budget, and invest. And you need to know what credit is and how to use credit. That's where we start. And then we say, okay, but you also need to start making money for yourselves. What can you do? And that journey goes up to a point where we have an entrepreneurship day at the school. It's amazing what young people can come up with. And the most interesting thing is we let them do what they want to do. If they want to sell quarters, they're going to sell quarters. If they want to, whatever they want to do on that day, we let them be. And we don't even give them hints of there's going to be competition, there's going to be this and that. On the day, they discover that actually my next door is also selling quarters. How do I make mine go?
Differentiate my product, my brand, positioning.
Yes. Yeah. So that's in grade 8, 9. And by the end of that program, they now know that I can't just say I'm going to sell something. I have to think how to entice my customers to buy from me instead of the other person. There's always going to be competition. In grade 10, 11, we introduce our signature program, which we call the company program.
Okay.
In that program, this is a program that's done across the world by all JA, Junior Achievement companies. And it starts with the idea that you need to come up with a business idea. We give you a theme. This year's theme is Action for Climate Transformation.
Oh, so you've got to come up with a business in that theme.
In that theme,
okay.
Yes. We need to solve world problems.
I'm trying to think
climate
what would that be?
Issues are, it's amazing what they come up with. But climate issues are a big issue for the whole world. So sensitizing young people around that is important. And there are business ideas that they can come up with around that theme. Actually, you'd be amazed.
Yeah, I'm already thinking of 2, but I'm too old. Too old for the program.
But before they even start ideating, we first
there's processes, right?
Yes, there's processes. They must understand themselves first.
Yeah.
So we take them through a test where we call it Discover Your Career.
Okay.
They do a test of their personality. And through this test, they're able to see what careers they align to, their personality aligns to. And the reason we do this at the beginning of this program is because during this program, they have to take different roles in their company that they are going to form. We put them in groups of 10. They're going to form a company. They must take roles like a normal business, have a general manager, have a finance manager, if they already understand their personality and where they're going to fit best.
The strengths.
Yes.
Yeah, because you sometimes find there's a guy like CEO who's a talker, so he's like marketing.
Yes.
You know, he's going to be a terrible admin person.
He could be, exactly.
Maybe he's a good admin
exactly.
person.
So yeah, we go through that, and then once they're done with that, we actually give each team 500 rand and say, go buy something and sell. We have not started any classroom teaching about entrepreneurship.
This is just, I kind of like that.
Yes.
It's just before you box them, you kind of allow them to experience it.
Yes, we
allow them. Because I think often we box people before we even have allowed them. And so we stifle their creativity, we stifle their natural curiosity around questions, because you're saying you can only ask questions in the box.
Yes.
Okay, and then there is the after-school leavers, right?
So yes, there is the after-school. So our after-school programs are twofold. We've got what we call a social equity boot camp.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was about to ask you. That the social equity program is something you started recently, right?
Yes, we started that 3 years ago.
Okay.
And it's our highest impact because we touch quite a lot of young out-of-school people. This year our target is 21,000 young people across the country should have gone through a boot camp by the end of September.
Okay.
And the boot camp is in a week. We take them through entrepreneurship education, mental wellness, and we allow them to also ideate about a project that they can start. We do not have enough time to start the project with them, but we plant the seed. And we do this in groups of 100. 30 of the best ideas are taken forward and we get them mentored and they do self-learning to build up on that project. I have a group in Katlehong recently that went through this program this year. The group has started a jewelry business just by bringing them together and for a week taking them through what entrepreneurship is all about. They've come up with an idea. It's to plant the idea that you cannot sit hopeless. There are opportunities.
You're going to have to problem solve.
You have to problem solve. Yes.
And I think at the heart of it, I think that is the takeaway, because you can ask the legitimate questions of, if you've had 21,000 kids go through the program this year, and there was X amount of kids last year, why does it feel that our young people they feel hopeless? I mean, I spent a year traveling on the road now recently. And I went with a client. We went to every township and every province, and we weren't there for an hour. We were there for in some instances for 3-4 days, on the ground, engaging with communities. And I often wonder, and I ask myself this really hard question. For example, almost every school has a career entrepreneurship day. Almost every school. Right, my kids have just gone through. Actually, my kid is going through entrepreneurship week this week, right? And then the VUSA, for example, VUSA Rugby Academy last week had an entrepreneurship thing. Learn to Read is doing something in Thingy. There's guys like yourself and E-Cubed and many others. Why do you think it is that we are? And I think it is as simple as the data doesn't speak to each other. But I want to hear, because you're the expert. Why is it that with all the program that's being run, Nelo, with all the work that's being done by communities and yourself, why is our tone still so negative? Why are we not talking about, yes, there are challenges, but we are? Why does it feel to me like we're saying, but youth unemployment is really high. It's very stubborn. It doesn't seem to be working. Why are we not saying, but guys, all these interventions are at some point will bear fruit? But I never hear that. I always hear this negative sentiment, and it bothers me. It bothers me.
I cannot speak for the world, but I think
but
for me, I
leaders
think
coming in a room together, it feels like it's insurmountable, and yet everybody is doing something in their pocket.
I think for me, we started on this, the community coordination and working together. If we heighten our messaging as a community and have more conversations. We have quite a lot of podcasts that speak to the problems. We need to have more podcasts that speak to solutions that we are implementing in these communities. Mindset shift. We work on the mindset for the high school, for the in-school learners, for example. Our biggest win is to see a child in a poverty-strict community believing that I can go anywhere and stand on any stage.
I can be the next Tula Cindy. I can be the next whatever.
Yes.
Right?
But if we don't improve the communication and the sensitization that there is good work, it is bearing fruit, then our children will keep going back to saying there's nothing for us, but we need to start speaking the language. So I encourage the podcasters to start speaking more of the positive news and putting them out there.
And one of the things that we do, Nelo, I firmly believe on the show that we have to build conscious consumers, right?
Yes.
And this idea of a conscious consumer is somebody who now knows, I know the brands and the organizations and institutions that are supporting these organizations, so let's support them with our business. And so a shout out to SASFIN and ABSA that you work with, right? Those are some of the collaborators that have come on board and they've identified the problem.
Yes. So we work with quite a number of local corporates that actually support
some of them.
Our work. MasterCard supports our work.
Oh, I love the MasterCard Foundation and the work that they do.
Supports our work immensely. SASFIN supports our work. NMC, the insurance, supports our work. Volvo supports our work. There's quite a number of them.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people when you drive past these brands, you've got to realize that these brands actually have programs and structures in place to try and drive and change within communities. And I think us as conscious consumers, we now need to say, how do I support you? Because you're supporting the community. And I think that kind of circular relationship is what's going to have value, because
absolutely,
at the end of the day, it is a business, but it is a business that's also involved in the community.
Yes. Actually, Junior Achievement South Africa's work is at least 80% supported by local funding, which is immensely appreciated, because that means our local companies are actually also contributing, not only financially. Actually, we've got a lot of volunteers from these companies that then come in. We've got Investic volunteers that come into our work. They support us indirectly through EDT, the Education Trust. We've got 91 that supports our work as well. But we get a lot of volunteers that come in, and that experience also helps us to build the work readiness of the students, because when we get into a school with volunteers from an ABSA, we ask them to speak about their journey first. When we get into a school with J&J, we ask them to speak about their own personal careers. Last week we had a boot camp for STEM students with J&J, and one of the ladies spoke and said, my mother was a cashier at KFC.
Oh, wow.
And can you imagine how township kids can relate to that? And look at me, I'm a pharmacist today. So it is that story that comes out, because when we sit
and
resonates, because when we come in our suits, in our high heels, children look at us as achieved. But they don't know where we came from. So sharing that story is what gives that child motivation to say, I can.
I love it. Nelo, we've run out of time. I can talk to you for hours. It's Nelo Phindile Spies, who's the Executive Director of Junior Achievement South Africa, talking to us about their innovative programs and how they're equipping young people across the country with entrepreneurial, financial and workplace skills. It's simple. Google Junior Achievement South Africa. She doesn't even need to give her details. Google Junior Achievement South Africa. Find out more about the work that they do. Find out how you can get involved. And let's just be conscious. Follow the journey. Okay, we're literally a minute away from the news. When we come back, we'll continue with more positive conversations on South Africa's only social impact radio show.